Now, Chinese state media says the US has been throwing groundless accusations over the origins of COVID-19. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said there's significant evidence it originated in a Chinese lab.
While the intelligence committee continues to do its work, they should continue to do that and verify so that we are certain. I can tell you that there is a significant amount of evidence that this came from that laboratory in Wuhan. Look, the best experts so far seem to think it was man-made. I have no reason to disbelieve that at this point.
The scientific consensus was not man-made or genetically modified.
That's right. I agree with that. Yeah, I've seen their analysis. I've seen the summary that you saw that was released publicly. I have no reason to doubt that that is accurate at this point.
Okay, so just to be clear, you do not think it was man-made or genetically modified?
I've seen what the intelligence committee has said. I have no reason to believe that they've got it wrong.
Well, Katrina Yu is in Beijing with more on the reaction there to Pompeo's comments.
There has been an escalating war of words between the US and China in recent months, and this latest state media editorial is only adding fuel to that fire. So it was in the Global Times, which is a Chinese state media newspaper, and it's published both in English and Mandarin, and both versions really had searing words attacking Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. In particular, they called him a liar, saying that he, quote, is engaging in filthy behavior to mislead the public and that he's lost his moral compass. They've also accused Mike Pompeo of really only being interested in getting Donald Trump re-elected in the next elections in November and in stoking anti-Chinese hatred in order to do this. Now, this is in response to the comments we heard earlier of Mike Pompeo saying that there's significant evidence that COVID-19 originated in a Chinese lab in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And Beijing has flat out denied this. It's also denied that it's engaging in any cover-up or disinformation campaign. And this editorial is really demanding that Mike Pompeo and his colleagues really produce this evidence that they say that they have. And they just said, look, he's really just engaging, according to state media, in a big bluff, and really just continuing this anti-China smear campaign in order to divert attention from Washington's mishandling of the crisis back home.
Let's cross over to the White House and our correspondent there, Kimberly Halkett in Washington, D.C. And Kimberly, the war of words, as we can see, between the US and China is not only hotting up, but President Trump really seems to be on a mission to castigate Beijing. Any response to China's statement?
Well, the response has echoed a report by the Department of Homeland Security that essentially accuses China of downplaying the threat of COVID-19 in essentially not allowing the world time to prepare adequately as a result. Now, there's no question that the Secretary of State is putting forward this. There is enormous evidence to point the finger towards China in terms of skewering the realities of COVID-19, but at the same time, none of this evidence has been put forward. So the United States is also challenging China to put forward the evidence to the contrary. And of course, we haven't seen that either. And the reason this is getting traction in the United States in terms of the finger pointing towards China by the U.S. president is the fact that this is known to be a government which is authoritarian, which is not transparent. And as a result, this is becoming really an election issue. And Donald Trump is looking for someone to blame. There's no question about it. This is an election year. He has been criticized repeatedly by his political opponents, the Democratic Party, for ignoring the intelligence, not acting quickly enough on the intelligence. But the reason that the president's finger pointing is getting some traction is the fact that the reality is that people are hurting in the United States. Initially, before the onset of COVID-19, there was historically low unemployment, a very strong economy. All of that has been obliterated. So people are suffering, and they're looking for someone to blame, as well as the president, who's trying to blame someone for the fact that he may not be reelected as a result of this pandemic. So the president is finger pointing, but there are many Americans who are echoing those sentiments because they too are suffering.
Well, let's just expand on evidence and economy, because everybody wants to see evidence, but that evidence can be defined as intelligence in the US and therefore classified. And so the public are left with just hearing an argument and perhaps a more political argument about economic independence for the US.
And that's what's really convenient for both sides, not just the United States, but also China. When the argument is that this is classified, this proof or this evidence came out of a classified setting, we can't share this, we can't make this public because this would risk national security, it becomes very easy to manipulate. And so far, we've not seen a real push for that evidence because there is that understanding. But I expect that as time goes on, as we get closer and closer to the U.S. election, that will change. Now, already we've seen in some battleground states here in the United States, Michigan being one of them, that there is now an ad being run that is criticizing the U.S. president for his action in the early days with regard to protecting the United States, that he ignored or downplayed the intelligence, that there wasn't a swift enough action to close the borders, given the fact that even though the president points out that he put in place a blocking of travelers from China in late January, that 40,000 people still did come back to the United States. Now, these were in most cases returning Americans. But again, the concern is that not enough was done to stop the threat early enough. So this is something that is getting some play in the United States and will continue to do so. But you're absolutely right. When it comes to intelligence, it's very easy to say, we can't share this with you, trust us. And really, it will come down to a referendum on whether Americans believe the president or not come Election Day in November.
Indeed. For the update, Kimberly Halkett there, our White House correspondent. Thank you.